Greetings everyone, today in Basic Mathematics this would be the fourth lecture of this series. Second chapter, Basic Mathematics, lecture 4. So in this lecture students we will discuss basic coordinate geometry, but this would be the second part of it, and we will discuss theory and numericals on mathematics, basic mathematics. Independent variable. The variable which can have any arbitrary value, any arbitrary value. So like it is picking any value, students, arbitrary value. Within certain specific limits, is called as independent value. Yes. Dependent variable. Now you would say, sir, you wrote definition, but who would explain it? So explanation is very simple. Like any variable, you have x, t, anything, and it takes any value on a axis, you can say. So this makes independent variable. Dependent variable you don't even need axis for now, it is free of. The variable whose value depends upon what, students? Yes, the independent variable. Upon the numerical values of of independent variable. Numerical values of independent variable. Okay, is called dependent variable. So basically it is saying that the value of this thing depends, the value of this thing depends on this thing. The independent variable, simple as that. Okay, students. Now, so for example, S is equal to Vt. So S is the displacement and T is the time. So let me actually give you a proper example. But before the example, the relationship between a dependent and independent variable variable is known as, yes, function. Very good, students. Known as function. Okay. This is actually what function is. There's nothing much rack and havoc in it. Function, example, function. So like I'm taking S is equal to Vt. S is the displacement and T is the time. So here it is independent variable, right students? Definitely sir, independent variable. S happens to be dependent variable. Yes, very nice. Sir, you should erase the thing. Yes, this actually is. Now physical quantities based on variable. Physical quantities based on variable term. Physical quantities based on variable. What are they? Constants. Yes, one quantity is constants. Physical quantities and other quantities, what students? Variable, right? Very good. Variable. Variables. Yes, very nice. So this does not change. It does not change. Does not change. And this does change. Does change. Does change. Okay. So now the excess part has come. Oh sir, we were thinking of it that you said excess thing and it is not being discussed till now. In graph, the value of dependent variable are on, yes, are on y-axis an independent variable on x-axis. On x-axis respect on x-axis. So I should draw the graph. This will make your life easy. If sir could give our exams also, this would make our lives easy. So, why? This should be y is dependent variable according to your theory. Dependent variable, and this is x-axis, and this happens to be independent variable. Yes, very nice. Basic example of basic example v is equal to u plus at. Explanation. So this is what is, students? This is actually first equation of motion, Newton's first equation of motion. So can I write this equation? Explanation. V is equal to at plus u. Yes sir, you have written the same thing. There is nothing much to it. And now we know the straight line equation. What is straight line equation is, students? Y mx plus c, right students? And what it is? Yes, the second part. Yes, this is the second part. So what here also y happens to be v, right students? M happens to be a, x happens to be t, and c happens to be u part. Okay. So can I write, students, first equation of motion is a straight line. First equation of motion is a straight line motion. Is a straight line, not a straight line motion. Is a straight line. Yes, definitely. Parabola. Parabola is actually quadratic equation, students. Okay. Quadratic equations. So what are quadratic equations? Quadratic equation, a question arises why parabolic equation we have considered and not the elliptical and this hyperbolic we have not considered here. Okay. So question y parabolic not hyperbolic or elliptical we have considered. Or elliptical equation we have considered. Why, students? You think of yourselves now, what could be the reason? So basically, students, quadratic equations is generally what, students? Y is equal to, for quadratic equations, is what? Y happens to be ax square bx plus c. Right, students? This is quadratic equations. For quadratic equations, and we all know only this equation is satisfied by parabola only. Okay, students, not hyperbola and elliptical. So this is the reason. For quadratic equations are generally satisfied by parabola. You don't actually need hyperbola or elliptical equations for it. The graph between x and y, y is a parabola. So this is the reason. Okay. And generally the graph of physical quantities happens to be of quadratic equations happens to be a parabola in this manner. It is not that elliptical orbits or anything cannot exist into the nature, but I am talking about the equation. Simplest form of parabola. Simplest form of parabola. For y happens to be what, students? Ax square when a is positive. So this is the basic equation of y, and this happens to be what, students? Yes, sir, very nice. This happens to be this thing. This is y coordinate. Yes, very nice. This is x coordinate. Yes, x. This happens to be origin, and this is vertex point. Vertex. Okay. A is coefficient, yes, of course, the coefficient of x. So the next part, and vertex is turning point, yes, turning point of parabola, where you go into the negative axis and then you go into the positive axis. For y happens to be what, students? Ax square, but when a is negative. When a is negative. Right, students? So this makes what, students? Y, and this is x, and this is, yes, origin, and this happens to be what, students? Yes, the vertex. The next part is generally the changing of coordinates. For x happens to be ay square. Oh sir, this is even possible. Yes. 1 when a is positive, when a is positive, how would be the graph? Yes sir, very nice. O y x, so this is the graph of it. Now you think of yourself, what would be the graph of when a is negative while I am erasing. Okay, so this is actually the graph, and this is yes origin vertex point, and this is y, this happens to be x. Very nice. So what is axis of parabola here? Y or x? X, students. This is axis of parabola. And this is what? Vertex. Vertex of parabola. Vertex of parabola. The next part, plotting a parabola. Plotting a parabola. So based on the equation, we plot general form of parabola y ax square bx plus c. Right, students? If a happens to be greater than 0, then graph will happen to be what? The graph will open up. Okay, students, will open up into the axis. Will open up into the axis. Will open up into the axis if a happens to be yes. If a happens to be 0, then graph will open up. Then graph will open down. Yes. Then graph Sir, maybe you should erase this also. So this is the thing. Then graph will open down. Yes, will open down into the axis. Will open down into the axis. Fourth, x coordinate of vertex. What this equation is? Vertex is given by x is equal to minus b upon 2a. Yes, this is actually the vertex equation. Plot the line plot the line plot the line 2x minus 3y upon 12 equal to 12. Oh sir, what you are saying? Solution. So students, what is this? What equation is this? So this is a straight line equation, but in a different form. Very nice, students. Very nice. Then can I write 2x plus 2x upon 3 minus 12 upon 3. This is what? This implies m happens to be 2 by 3 and c happens to be what is it? Minus 4. Yes, very nice. So you plot the graph for now for it. So after plotting the graph, we get yes. So maybe so let the graph be here only. Line equation form of intercept. Line equation intercept form. This would make my life easy. Okay, in plotting. Let me show you how it would make my life easy. So what I do, I write the line intercept form of this equation. So this happens to be x plus y happens to be 1, and this happens to be what? A, students, and this happens to be b, as we have discussed in our previous lecture. And what are these values, students? Here, as we have noticed, this happens to be 6, right, students, and this happens to be minus 4. Yes, very nice. So you have divided this by 12, making it 1, and this is the thing here. So yes, I have not drawn it. Yes, yes. Oh, hey. So I'll draw from the origin only. So it should do this. So this happens to be 6th point on x-axis, A, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, origin 1, 2, 3, minus 4, right? So this is the thing. I will just. So this is the straight line equation. Next part is parabola. So students, in this lecture we will deal with mathematics part only, not the physics part of basic mathematics, because first when the mathematics part you have understood, the physics part would readily come to you, easily come to you. Okay. Plot a graph for equation y x square minus 4x. Solution part of this, y is what? Ax bx plus c. This is parabolic equation, of course, but I should write parabolic equation. Then what is a here, students? A, sir, is 1, b, sir, minus 4, c happens to be, yes, 0. Very nice. Now you tell me, what is the vertex equation? Vertex equation? Yes, vertex equation, sir, is very easy. It is such a small equation. Vertex x is equal to minus b upon 2a. This is what is minus b happens to be 4, and this is happens to be 1. So the vertex happens to be 4. Oh, I have not multiplied 2. Yes, this makes 2. Yes. So the vertex happens to be 2. On x-axis, then y value would be, if x is equal to 2, then y would be, put x is equal to 2 here into the equation and you get y value, and it actually comes to be minus 4 at x is equal to at x happens to be 2. Okay, students, minus 4, yes. Then the graph of this is what, students? So x happens to be 2, the vertex, the turning point, and where y is minus 4. So minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, yes, and the vertex, this happens to be this. Okay, students. Oh yes. It is y at 0, at x is equal to 0, y happens to be 0. So it should pass through the origin. Yes, what you are saying is right. It should pass through the origin. Oh yes. This happens to be 3, this happens to be 1. And this happens to be 4, students. So the thing here, this is vertex point, the turning point of the graph. So it is going towards the negative and then to the positive. So the numerical part happens to end here, students. And note one thing into this account, that in this our lecture we have discussed the physics part, not the physics part but the mathematics part. because all of this will be used into our physics course later. So I will stop here for now. Thank you.